Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of the Playoff Push podcast. I'm your host, Jack Dobbins, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, former MLB relief pitcher, Mr. Richard Bleier. How are we tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Jack. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I loved watching you play. You just retired very recently, so congratulations on your retirement, first off.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. Going
Yeah,
well
of
so
course.
far.
What did you say?
I said it's going well so far. Yep.
I bet it is. I bet it is. So, about your career, of course, we got to lead off with where it all started. You had a very unique journey to the big leagues. You didn't make your MLB debut until you were 29. What kept you motivated during your years in the minors?
Um, I don't think that there was anything different. I just kind of took it year by year. It never really was like I guess it just kind of the time kind of flew and I never really realized like, oh man, I'm getting too old for this type thing. It was always like, oh, if I can get to double A, or whatever. Then it was like, if I can get out of double A, I'll have a chance. And then for a while, I was like, man, if I just get to triple A, that I feel like an injury away from getting to the big leagues or a phone call away type thing. So I guess that I never really thought like, man, if I don't get to the big leagues in X amount of years, I'm done or I'm going to stop trying or move on or whatever. I just um, always just figured I would work my way there, I guess. I don't know. I never
Yeah,
really
totally.
lost motivation.
Yeah, totally. Because I see, a lot of guys, when they take a bit longer to get to the majors, like, some of them, like, I forget, who was it? It was a guy in the Tigers system. I forget his name. But he retired after being in the minors for like 2 years. He was like, I'm done with this. So it's
Right.
always, great to see, someone stay in the minors for such a long time and still make it to the majors and be able to complete their dream like yourself.
Yeah, I think too, like obviously it's a job, right? And as I was young and I was on the like minor leaguers don't make that much money.
Yeah.
The first few years, like the first like 6 years really. And so like once I kind of started getting into like minor league free agency, you kind of make a little bit of money, like and so like, all right, I could work as a minor, like I could play minor league baseball, and then I worked in the off season, and I was making money, and I'm able to. I was like, all right, there's a lot worse things I could be doing than playing baseball, and whatever. And so it wasn't really like like what else am I going to do? Like
Yeah,
what else?
exactly,
I
exactly.
enjoy playing baseball. I was still getting jobs, and like I'll just ride this out until I can't anymore. And that point came, about last year. So not a little bit longer than I expected, but it ended up it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely did work out. That's for sure. You started that career when you were drafted by Texas in the sixth round of the 2008 draft from FGCU. So, my question is, what was the recruiting process like coming out of high school? And did you have any other offers outside of Florida Gulf Coast?
I was yeah, so I was a late bloomer in high school, and I had an injury my junior year. I didn't really start pitching till my sophomore year, which I feel like really helped my arm, like health wise. Probably development I was behind, and just like I didn't have any innings, but but like the kids in my little league and stuff, like I didn't throw hard, so I didn't pitch, and they're all like getting hurt in high school, and I think that like the fact that I wasn't pitching helped me out. I don't know, maybe not, but I that's what I think. So, anyways, I didn't start pitching till my sophomore year, and then I got hurt. I hurt my back hitting for
Oh,
my junior year, yeah, and then and then um so I, like I said, I was like a late bloomer. I got offers. I actually went to a camp, a University of Florida like showcase camp. Like
ooh.
you could just like sign up for or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the coaches was there for Florida Gulf Coast. So he reached out after I pitched well there and did well or whatever, and they came and watched me in season. But I was just a walk on at Florida Gulf Coast when they were Division II still. So my
Oh,
freshman and
wow.
sophomore year, they were Division II, and I was just like like a recruited walk on, no scholarship. And so like I wasn't like this, I don't even know how they grade prospects now. I don't know, whatever, like a
Yeah.
5 star or whatever. I was just I barely snuck in there. I had a couple other schools, like community colleges and stuff, like being left-handed, and by my senior year I was, kind of like the low to mid 80s type thing, which was a bigger deal back then than it is now.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, like wasn't just like flat out not recruited, but definitely was not one of these top tier, whatever, everybody knows
Yeah,
my name
yeah.
type thing.
Yeah, I gotcha. So I think the way they do it now is probably with the tool system where, they see pitch by pitch and, they put it on the whatever it's the 20 to 80 scale, I think it is.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's generally what they do both for, high school to college and like both of them to the majors. That's like usually what you see on the minor league website when you look up a player. Like it shows like they're for a position player, their hitting tool, their fielding tool, their
Right.
speed tool, and pitcher. It's like fastball, curveball, slider, whatever you so want. I think that's what it is now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my days of recruitment are over, but it definitely yeah, it wasn't like that at all back then. This was 2005 when I graduated high
Yeah.
school. So it wasn't it was just kind of like they come watch you and whatever. So yeah, it's come a long way recruiting, and it's a lot easier probably to recruit now because
Social media and stuff. I mean, you can get yourself out there so
yeah,
much easier.
it's just numbers too. It's
Oh,
like
totally.
yeah, you hit the
100%.
numbers they want, they get you. But
No,
yeah.
exactly. When it comes to your pitching style, I mean, you were known for having elite control and definitely being able to draw a lot of ground balls. Was that approach developed by the lack of speed in your younger days, or was it more of a mental thing?
No, it was developed in college. So I had a really good pitching coach in college, Dan Roselle, who's now the pitching coach at University of Kentucky. And his big thing was on or out in 3 pitches or less and pitch to contact. And so that's kind of like in high school, I just kind of was a thrower, really. But college, I learned to pitch and kind of started to figure out who I was as a pitcher and how I could be successful. And like you said, not throwing hard and not really having elite stuff, I kind of need to create some kind of separation from every other 88 to 90 lefty, right? So why me instead of the 50,000 other 88 to 90 lefties there are in the minors?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
for me, it was I threw way more strikes than everybody else, and I knew how to maximize what I had, my pitches. Um, I perfected my sinker locations and my cutter locations throughout the course of my career. Early on, I mean, I didn't do this. Took a long time to realize, but the groundwork of I always threw strikes throughout the course of my minor league career. And I remember like my sophomore year of college, I think I like walked 30 and hit 15 or something like that. And my junior year, it was just it wasn't many at all. Like I went and played summer ball and got a lot better at summer ball, and then had a good like worked really hard in the fall of my junior year and completely changed like my approach and what I was trying to do and just the thought process in general and carry that over to my pro career. And like I said, I realized what made me good and what separated me eventually, like early, like I always knew I need to throw strikes and I'm a strike thrower and stuff like that. But what got me over the hump from out of the minors and to be to sustain my bit like being in the big leagues was being able to realize what made me better than other people and being really good at that.
Wow, interesting. So you said your pitching coach is at Kentucky now, you said?
Yeah.
Wow. And he taught you that idea that,
It
just
just it
get
just
three
just
strikes and
count
then you're good?
right. Just no, not on or out in 3 pitches or less, right? So strike
Oh,
them
yeah,
out in
yeah.
3 pitches, give up a hit in less than 3 pitches, or get them out in 3 pitches or
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
And it was just we just want and for me and now looking back, like not looking back, but like throughout the course of my career, you realize as you go longer and longer, you realize that the more pitches a hitter sees against you in a specific at bat, or over the course of the season or seasons, the more the advantage swings in their favor. Like it's funny. I love like you see a pitcher and it's 1-0 or it's one the count's 1-0 and he throws his best pitch, a slider, and he gets a swing and miss, and then he throws another one, and then it's a foul ball, right? And then and it's 1-2, and then he throws the strikeout pitch, and the guy takes it because he just saw those two, and
Yeah.
then it's 2-2, and then he throws another slider for Chase, and the guy takes it because he's a major league hitter, and he knows what it looks like now out of hand, and he knows where the strike one starts, and he knows where the ball one starts, and now
Oh,
it's a full count. Where if you could get to two strikes without using your best pitch, if you have other pitches, right? Like for me, it would like I had a slider that I would use 0-0 to righties and that I could throw for a strike almost every single time. And it graded out, like you said, in your grades, right? It graded out
yeah, totally.
poorly, but I used it in non-swing counts, 1-0, 0-0, just to get back in accounts.
Interesting.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah, just
didn't,
one of those pitches you hang there that they're
right.
not going to go for.
They're just going to take. It's a strike. They're not looking for it. It's a low percentage pitch. And that way, I don't have to show them my cutter or my sinker, the pitches I want to get them out with. I can use those pitches in more action counts and get them out on the first one they see. So like a 1-1 count or something like that. It's
Yeah, yeah.
1-0. I missed with a sinker. It's 1-0. Okay, now I just threw a slider. It's 1-1. Then I hit, now they're ready to swing, and I throw my cutter up and in, and I jam them. I get a ground out. They're done. Then they're going back to the dugout. They're saying, "Man, next at bat, I see it well. Next at bat, I'm going to look for that cutter." Well, the next at bat's a year later or 2 months later,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they faced 50 pitchers since me or whatever, and they don't remember it anymore. And that's the good part about being a reliever. I don't have to face them 2, 3 times a game. So just stuff like that is like I said, my approach, and like that's kind of how I handled my outings and career in general is let's get them out with I would do my scouting reports, and it would be I want to get this guy out with a sinker, and so I want to get him out with the first sinker I throw him, or I want to get him out with my cutter, and it's my first cutter I throw him I want to get him out with, whether that's a strikeout if I can get to my cutter with two strike without like go sinker cutter type thing and strike them out on the first cutter. But I always know that first time I show them the pitch I want to get them out with was going to be the most effective.
Wow.
If
I
you
get,
watch games, right? It's swing and miss, foul ball. Now they're ready to hit
yeah, exactly.
for the most part. At least in my experience.
Yeah, I totally like the idea from a pitcher's perspective of, hanging that pitch that they're not going to swing at in a hitter's count. That's really like interesting to think about. I'd never really considered it like
Well,
that.
and especially like if you look at like a pitcher like me and my usage, if you ever look like a reliever comes in, and if you look in the dugout, the coach is they're looking in the iPad, right? And they're giving like a quick scouting report, and it's okay. He's 40%, or he's 40 something percent sinker and 40 something percent cutter, and then single digit changeup, single digit slider. Eliminate those pitches. You're probably not going to see any. Sit on either the sinker or the cutter in this zone, and look for it here and be ready to hit this pitch in this location. And I think that's like the majority of how, like, what they go over for relievers, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're gonna look for a pitch in a location, and try to hit that pitch, like whatever like plays into that batter's hot spot, or whatever you want to say. So if they're okay, we're okay. So a hitter goes up there, and okay, I'm looking for that sinker away. I'm going to hit it in a righty. I'm going to hit it in the right center field or whatever. Well, then all of a sudden they see this slider that's a ball out of hand, and it's like immediately give up on it, and then it comes in and it's a backdoor slider for a strike, and it's like, all right, whatever. That's something that he's not going to throw again. So it's just like they just completely move on. I've talked to plenty of hitters about it, and it's something that they don't really even it's just okay, whatever. Like that's just a strike. I wasn't looking for that. I'm not going to swing at that. And like if you look at my slider usage or whatever, and I keep it low. I kept it low, but I
Yeah.
just used it in situations like that 0-0 or 1-0 or whatever. Just to get back end counts. Never two strikes with to righties. This is all to righties. Lefties, I used it more, but righties was like lefties. I always I could throw whatever, and I got lefties out with all my pitches, but righties I had to get real creative with how to get them out. Um,
Yes. Something that's pretty interesting to me, in my opinion, your best season was 2017 with Baltimore. And in that year, you threw 55% sinker, 25% cutter, 7% change, 6% four seamer, and 3% sliders. You kept it very limited that year.
right, and I think if you look at like 21, which I think is 21 is which I think is my best year.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Holy, I've never
yeah,
looked at these metrics. Oh, my goodness. It is red all over the place.
yeah. So
Holy cow.
that and like the usage there is probably more of like a representation of how I would want to use my off speed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
20 in 17, I was pitching in different roles, mostly earlier in the games and losing games. And so I think I just approached those games a little differently than maybe like late in game, ahead in the game, where it was just like I don't know. I always felt like if a guy's 3 for 3 or 3 for 3 in the fourth inning, they're a lot more willing to just roll over on a sinker down and away. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
they've already hit a homer and a double or whatever. It's like, whatever. I've already, like because I come into games that are like 12-2 and like the starter got rocked and then the next guy got rocked and then I came in and like would go 3-4 innings of just mop up in 17 for like the majority of the year because I got like I threw like 60 something innings and I was in AAA for like 6 weeks
Yeah.
or something like that. So I wasn't even up the full year, and I had a full year's worth of innings out of the bullpen. So that I handled those innings a little differently than say the eighth inning in a one-run game, um, up one type thing,
Yeah,
which I
totally.
pitched a lot of in 21. So yeah, like I just got to be a little bit more careful of like one run could in the eighth inning is a one run game, obviously. But in the fourth inning, you're just trying to get outs and get the game over with because it's pretty much over anyways when
Yeah,
it's
totally.
12-2 or whatever. So yeah, that. But yeah, the usage, like I said, I just try to. They it's funny every spring training you go in and they give you like okay here's what we want percentage wise like we think is your best splits or whatever and I don't know how much I stick to it but um probably ends up being similar to what they wanted just out of like just how the way it works out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, looking at 2021, yeah, it's definitely more what you described, 62% sinker, 23% cutter, 13% slider. So that
Yeah,
definitely sounds more like what you were talking about.
yeah, and a lot of that's probably overall, and then if you look at like the righty splits it's probably more 50-50 sinker cutter, closer to 50-50, and then and like the sliders probably in the single digits I would assume.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that
Although
year, like looking at these metrics, it's ridiculous. 99th percentile ground ball rate, 95th percentile barrel rate, 99th percent walk rate, 98th percent chase rate, and 89th percentile in xERA. I mean, holy cow, it's just incredible to look at.
yeah, I don't know. Sounds good to me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the thing I'm most proud of though is I didn't walk. My first walk was in June, which was pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
there was another guy on my team, John Curtis, who we were both had like 30 something innings before we walked a guy, and he walked a guy before I did. And we had a little, we both were aware that neither one of us had walked a guy. And I ended up walking Charlie Blackman on four straight in the night.
oh no.
We were, and I had faced him a bunch, and I was throwing very competitive pitches. And I think he was taking till he got a strike because I wasn't sure why he wasn't swinging the bat. And I walked him on four straight, and then the next guy hit into a double play to end the game or something like that. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it was an interesting at bat there with him. I faced him all through the minors and all up into in the big leagues. Like any lefty, I face a lot. I had to pitch against the lefties a lot.
Yeah, I mean Chuck Nasty. I mean, what a guy, right? I mean, like he retired last year, right? I believe.
Yeah, yeah. He was a 2008 draft class too, I think.
Yeah, I
First
mean,
rounder, I'm sure.
whew. Yeah, you faced him 5 times in your career.
Okay, I probably faced him 20 in the minors, so
Yeah, yeah. You had that one walk, and then you never gave up a hit to him. So
no.
I'd say it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I know I struck him out at least twice, I think.
I mean,
So,
it says once on here, but
oh,
it
really?
looks like he's
Oh,
0 for
that
4
seems
with a
like
walk and a strikeout. Is what it says on Baseball Reference. I don't know.
okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
I
what it
believe
says
it.
there.
I thought there was.
But yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, holding Charlie Blackmon into no hits is pretty impressive. I will
uh,
not lie.
Small sample size. Don't get too excited. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, probably.
I
But
know. I thought I got him on a slide. I know I struck him out on a changeup in 2017. Uh, but I guess that's it then. I thought I got him on a slider too in another year. Anyways, whatever. Yeah, nice guy. I don't know him really that well at all, but yeah, I did see his. He wrote like a long thing when he retired. Tough to top. Very nice. He wrote a very nice thing on Instagram about his
yeah, I
career
read
and
all of
everything.
it when he
Yeah,
first posted. I read all of it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I love when guys do that when they show the heart they have for the sport and how much it means to them and their farewell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it, we're so invested in it and just energy and time and everything that it's just like a weird concept to be like, like now, like um, it's just weird to think that I'm done playing baseball. I've been playing baseball since I was like 4. And I played 17 seasons of pro ball. So and it just went by so quick that it definitely seems it's a weird concept to me of like, oh, I'm not training, I'm not throwing, I'm not doing anything, and I really, I'm happy with that, and I figured it was time for me to be done playing. I felt like it mentally, I was done, um, and and also, and like I said, like I told you earlier, you said motivation, and I just was going to keep playing till nobody told me I could play anymore. And, I opted out. I was with the Nationals in AAA last year. I got one offer in the off season from a team. Um, and that was the Nationals, which worked out well because their spring training's 10 minutes from my house.
That
And
must be
so
nice.
I said, yeah, I'll try this out. And I didn't make the team out of spring. And I went to AAA and I had an opt out like May 15th or whatever it was. So I played till the opt out and I opted out and nobody called. And so I played until nobody wanted me anymore. And that was that. So, I felt like I didn't leave anything or any opportunities on the table. Um, and I came out, healthy and no issues. And, I've got some scars, but overall, it worked out really well for myself and my family.
I totally agree. I mean, you pitched such a long time in the big leagues, 8 years in the majors, and I mean, just a 3.27 ERA and putting up great numbers. But I wanted to highlight you against one specific batter that I found very interesting. You,
Uh-oh.
in 4 at-bats, held Corey Seager to 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. And for those who are not too familiar, Seager is a Rookie of the Year, 5-time All-Star, 2-time World Series MVP, 3-time Silver Slugger. You never allowed a hit to the guy, and you struck him out twice. Do you remember any of those at bats at all?
I remember, I know I handled them well, but I do remember in 2017, no, in 16 when I was with the Yankees, I came in September in like very early in the game, the third or fourth inning, and I threw 4 innings in relief and struck him out on a cutter that was probably would have got challenged with the challenge zone. It was a called strike 3, and he wasn't happy about the call at all. But
Wow.
he worked out for me. But yeah, I don't know, I don't remember the other strikeout. But I do remember that one. It was strike 3 looking in 16 when I was in New York and he was in LA. It was the Dodgers. It was like one of my best. I was so excited. I went 4 innings. Um, and they didn't hit a ball out of the infield. I had like 3 or 4
Holy cow.
strikeouts.
Man.
Well, that year 16, the Dodgers were like uh, they had a really tough time against lefties, their whole lineup or whatever. It's funny too because I came in and this was Chase Utley, who was the first guy I faced. Like I said, I came in like the third or fourth, and I was out, and I hit him. He was the first batter I faced. I hit him in the shoulder or something like that. And had it been like later in the game, like if I was like a high leverage reliever or whatever, this was before the three batter minimum, they probably would have pulled me, and that would have been it. The whole outing would have never happened. But yeah, I ended up getting out of that. I didn't give up any runs, and I remember it was like it was like 8 to something. I don't know, and we scored some runs, and Girardi was a manager, and he came up to me. It's like, hey, if we get it a little closer, you're going back out for like the eighth inning or whatever. Like if we score, if we get it close, you're staying in. I thought that was funny. Like not if like, like it wasn't like we were going to turn the ball over to somebody else if we got back in it. He liked how I was pitching, so he wanted me to stay in there if it was close. But so that was a cool experience. I mean, the whole New York thing was just I mean, to think like, going from pitching in the minors to Yankee Stadium was,
Exactly.
you can imagine the culture shock there and just uh, you know, going from nothing to everything.
Yeah, I made
So
sure to don my Yankees jersey for this one.
yeah,
But
yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, imagine getting told that by Joe Girardi. He loves how much you're pitching, and he's just like, okay, go back out there, right? Like that must have
Yeah,
been sick.
yeah. I think managers appreciate um, a pitcher who can throw strikes, who works quick, who can keep the ball on the ground. All the things I do, managers like. I know that it's never a good feeling for a manager when you have a guy coming into a game and he's either going to strike out the side or not throw a strike. And I think like if they don't know what they're going to get out of you. Me, like I'm going to give up hits, for sure, and I'll give up runs and all that. But largely, I kept the ball in the ballpark, and I kept the ball on the ground, and I kept the ball in the strike zone. And I think like that, those things really got a lot of confidence in managers and me. And so, it was just like, hey, I might not be, throwing 99 or the flashiest, whatever, or like the prototypical setup man or whatever, high leverage guy, but at least I'm going to come in and give you competitive at bats and make the other team earn their hits and runs. And so I think, like I said, that went a long way for managers, including Joe. I know he was, and just facing him throughout the years, and I would talk to him, and he would kind of say this, so the similar stuff is like, we like it's good to see you in there, and I'm happy you're doing well, and we always knew you were gonna do all right because of like what I do, the things we do or whatever. So
That's so
yeah,
cool. Something else I
yeah.
wanted to tell you, I compiled an entire list of guys that you held hitless throughout your career. A pretty impressive list at that. I just picked, the guys I thought
I'm
were
sure
most notable.
a lot of them are lefty, I would assume.
But
Not too many righties on the
you
list.
faced these guys a combined 31 times
I
with
know
10 with 10 strikeouts.
Joey Gallo's definitely on the list.
He
Sorry,
is
Joey.
not on that list. I didn't deem him, good enough to be on the list.
Uh,
I'm being real with you.
I think he is over something with all
Yeah,
strikeouts.
I
I
would
don't.
guess probably 0 for 4 or 0 for 5.
Yeah, I don't think he's.
But
Anyways, let's hear it.
you held these guys to a combined 0 for 31. Austin Riley, Jay Bruce, Mike
Yeah,
Trout, Buster Posey,
yeah,
Evan Longoria, Adrian Gonzalez, Carlos Correa, Robinson Cano, Cody Bellinger, Christian Yelich,
uh,
Giancarlo Stanton, Victor Martinez, Matt
uh.
Holliday, Nelson Cruz, and Brandon Crawford. Are you kidding me?
What's funny? I had like Freddie Freeman was like for whatever, and the last at bat, he got a single off me, which was kind of a
Oh,
bummer. I was really excited about because he was like in the NL East. I faced him. I had to face him or be ready for him or whatever. Like he was the big lefty in the league. In the NL when I was facing him and with the Marlins or whatever. So
yeah,
he was
exactly.
a guy that would have been nice to have been on the list. Let me think about some of those guys. Nelson Cruz. Probably 0 for 1 or 2,
He was
not
0 for
many,
2.
but
0 for 2.
he hit that little tapper. But the one of the balls he hit, somebody made an incredible play when he was with the Rays, up against the wall, right? He hit a opposite field, like deep fly ball, which was close to being a 3-run homer. So that's
Oh,
nice.
boy.
There was one other one in there that you said,
I mean, Trout's pretty cool.
Trout 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out. Yeah. That was all recent stuff. Last few years there. I faced. It's funny because I gave up a home run to whoever hits before him or whatever. I don't remember who it was, but and so I was like a little disappointed about the homer, and then like I knew like I'd already given up a run, and I was like Trout was coming up or whatever, and I ended up striking him out on I don't even remember what pitch, cutter, I'm sure, or something. Maybe even I don't know. And then there was somebody else in there that you said go name some of those names one more time.
You got Posey, you got Cano, Stanton, Holiday,
Oh,
Crawford.
Stanton.
Uh-oh.
Stanton didn't like the cutter in at all, and that was a good pitch for me to throw to him. Well, because he's like real closed off.
Yeah, he's huge.
So
I mean, his stance is definitely one of a kind.
I was pitching against Stanton. In this was probably in 17, maybe
Oh, his
18.
MVP year?
No, no,
Oh,
no. He was with New York. It was one of his down years.
okay, because yeah, he went to New
Uh,
York in 18. So
so it must have been 18 then.
okay.
So he wasn't MVP 18, was he? He didn't even
No,
have
he
a
was MVP
D.
in 17.
Okay, so anyways, he like I said, so this was like the 10th inning or something like that. The 11th inning, I was pitching in extra innings in New York against them, and I intentionally walked Judge to get to Stanton, and he ended up hitting into a force out the end of the inning. Like I broke his bat on a cutter
Wow.
in. And I remember we won the game. I went 3 innings. It was my third day in a row. I pitched every game against the whole. I pitched every game of the series, and that was the Sunday game. So that was my third day, and that was the. It was the like the second inning of the third inning I pitched that day, and so I remember watching the interview. They interviewed him after, and I feel bad for him. He's a nice guy and everything like that, but just in that circuit, so they interviewed him, and they were like, "Have you ever been?" Has anybody ever been intentionally walked to get to you? And he was like, no, it's not, whatever. So, it was definitely a highlight for me and a low light for him. And it just goes to show just like, how one circumstance could, obviously there's a winner and a loser and, in every situation in baseball. And that moment, it worked out for me and not so much for him.
I never heard that. That's hilarious. That is
But
so
it
funny.
definitely, long run, I'd say he's done a lot better than me. So good. I won the battle. He won the war.
Something else that's pretty funny with this list is my last guest on the show last week was Nick Goody. If you remember him in the
Oh
big leagues,
yeah,
he
yeah.
was on the
We're a
last show,
teammate.
and I asked him to name his three least favorite hitters to face, and two of them were Nelson Cruz and Mike Trout, two guys that, based on this, you clearly owned.
I mean, like I said, over two and over two. It's not.
I mean,
But yeah,
that's
I'll
a
take
big
it.
0 for 4
Whatever.
right there. That's a big
We'll
goose
go for.
egg.
Yeah, we'll go for it. Oh for 4. Yeah, I own them. Yeah. um. Yeah, Nick Good. He's good. We played together. He had a good stretch there. Things were. I don't know what happened. He went to Cleveland, and I don't think he did well. And then I don't. I assume he's not playing anymore. I haven't
Yeah, he
talked to him.
retired a little while ago.
Okay. Yeah, super nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched since the pandemic hit. He opted out, and then that was that.
Oh, okay. 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 2020. Oh, so he's got a few years. Yeah. Yeah. Those, just because I got those guys out doesn't mean that I like love facing him by any means.
No,
Trout
no,
is
no. I bet.
Trout. It's like Trout and Goldschmidt are two of I would say the best low ball hitters that
Oh
I've ever
yeah,
faced. And I pitch down in the zone. I would, kind of piggybacking off of Goody's question. If I had the hardest hitter that I've ever faced is Acuna, and then I would say the second hardest hitter is Soto.
it's
And
actually funny
that
because looking at the stats of players against you, Acuna is the one that stood out to me.
oh, I know. Trust me, I know. He's clobbers me. I mean, it would get to the point where like we would just be in our scouting reports. I was like, just don't keep me in there against Acuna. It just doesn't go well. Like I'll try, but I just cannot get the guy out. He hits everything I throw for extra bases. I mean, I threw you talk about your 20 to 80 scouting scale or whatever.
Yeah.
I threw a 70 plus grade sinker to him that he hit, and he hit a homer down the right field line off of it. I mean,
Oh
this was
my goodness.
like at his shins. This was like a negative vert sinker. Like it was one of the best, like elite,
Yeah,
and
I mean, he's one of the
he
most
hit it
talented ball
out.
players we've seen in the 21st century.
The injuries have held him back the last few years with the knees and stuff, but the guy is just when he gets hot. I mean, it's funny because I was like, man, I should have threw him a cutter in, second guessing it. And the next day, Trevor Rogers was pitching and threw a 97 mile per hour fastball, like 6 inches off the plate in, and he hit it out to left. And it's like, man, I should have walked that guy.
Holy cow.
I didn't, he was on a tear, but and like Soto is just, it's just such a stressful, exhausting at bat. He never chases. Um, he 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 just he fights off every good pitch, and and
Yeah.
and just hits. The key for me was to get him to swing at a strike slider, and to that and get that, just get him out on a strike slider, because I remember my best pitch to a lefty was my sinker in, and for whatever reason, like the guy is the opposite of everybody. He with two strikes he hits in very well. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know why he's looking in or whatever, but I threw him a sinker in off the plate with two strikes, and he hit a double off the wall. And I don't know what this guy's doing, man. I don't get it. Then and then I threw, I remember I came in and faced him one time, and I threw a sinker away, and he hit a foul ball. I'm like, all right, foul. Well, I look, and it was like a foot foul from being a home run down the left field line.
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
what is this guy? This guy is just, I mean, get this guy out of here. Um, so, and to think he's like 20, whatever, is he like 19 or whatever? The
Yeah,
guy's like,
yeah. I think he's
he's
20,
so young.
26 right now.
He's so young. It's just, yeah, he's really good. And him and Acuna, man, that's,
Yeah.
everybody's hard. Everybody's a major leaguer. I'll
Oh,
never forget. I
exactly.
think in 16, my rookie year there, I remember, everybody had a scouting report, and I got lucky enough to face David Ortiz. And I remember Mike Harkey was is the bullpen coach for the Yankees, and I said, all right, how do you think I should? What's the report on Ortiz? How should I pitch him? And he laughs at me. He goes, "That's David Ortiz. If there's a scouting report, he wouldn't be David Ortiz." He said, "Don't give up a home run, and you'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay, I like
That
that.
checks out.
That makes sense. Keep him in the park. That's pretty." And he got a broken bat single, his last hit in Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
And that was it. It was like, all right, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a successful at bat for me against somebody like that. And it was the same thing with Miguel Cabrera. He told me, it was like, yeah, these guys are Hall of Famers. Like they wouldn't be Hall of Famers if it was like, yeah, just do this and you get them out every time. So that was interesting. An interesting lesson. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. These guys are good.
Exactly. Well, that's a great episode here from the Playoff Push podcast. Mr. Bleier, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And to all of you at home, thank you so much for listening to episode 33 of the Playoff Push podcast. I'm Jack Dobbins, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, thanks.